And I
What?
said to myself, I know Rabbi Kramer is like, big name around here. I didn't know you, but I know you're a big name. I'm going to leave you a note in your talisman.
It's going to be the worst day of your year. I think there's certain times you have to tell the parent, I'm letting you know, and I talk to parents about this. I'm not sanctioning getting drunk on Purim on any age.
The salaries have to improve. Rebbeim and moros have to earn more than the cleaning lady in the house. And
Right.
often she doesn't.
Okay, as long as
These
Mishpacha doesn't pull this as my quote.
Welcome to the Learning Curve podcast, brought to you by Mishpacha Magazine.
We're raising children in a changing and challenging world.
So let's tackle the important issues facing families today.
I'm Rabbi Yerachmiel Garfield, Menal of Yeshiva Torah Emes in Houston, and I love talking about chinuch.
I'm Rabbi Ari Schoenfeld, Menal of Yeshiva Katana of Manhattan, Rosh Meister of Beis Sipra Manhattan, Director of Camp Aish. I also love talking chinuch, and of course, a little bit of fishing.
Join us as we answer your questions and discuss the topics that matter to parents the most.
This episode of The Learning Curve is brought to you by Israel Bookshop Publications, your destination for Purim inspiration and serious chinuch resources. To prepare for Purim, explore V'Higadata in English, Rev Galinsky's powerful insights on Megillas Esther, or Why We Rejoice, a rich collection from Rosh Yeshiva and Rabbanim on the essence of the Zman. A beautifully presented Megillas Esther with Rabbi Zamir Cohn, and Between the Lines by Rev Gershon Weiss. Also, a timely, thoughtful sefer called L'chaim, a Torah perspective on wine and alcohol. For the kids, just imagine the Purim story today and Purim and Pesach with Gedolim, bringing the Yom Tov to life in a way children truly connect to. And beyond Purim, if you're serious about chinuch, if you're looking to reach today's kids, really reach them, start with Chords of Love by Rabbi Zriel Tauber, built on the chinuch of Rabbi Tisio Salman Zatzal. Though it addresses the at-risk kid, it's truly a master guide for inspiring every child. Then there's Live Your Life by Design, Not by Default, about Mr. Avi Shulman, Zechronu Livracha, 96 practical field-tested principles drawn from decades in the field of education and self-improvement. Real guidance for educators and laymen. For inspiration your students will remember, Rav Kalman Krohn's story collections overflow with Yiras Shamayim and life lessons. And Rav Ruvain Schmelzer's Heart of Emunah, Soul of Emunah, and Joy of Emunah, a hidden treasure packed with powerful stories of Gedolei Yisrael that bring Emunah to life. Every Rebbe needs clarity in Hashkafa. Tell Me the Truth by Rav Chaim Vishnevsky helps you teach Torah truths with confidence. Serious chinuch requires serious tools. Find them all at IsraelBookshopPublications.com. Bruchim habayim, and welcome back to another episode of The Learning Curve. As we continue on, get closer. I know we said spring is in the air, but I don't know where you were, Rabbi Garfield, but it definitely was not in the air in New York in the last while. It's been a very cold, brutal winter. But as we make our way in episode number 9, episode 8 was a unique one. Baruch Hashem got great feedback. Do mailbags more often and email bags. I want to share just one thing, and that is just to show you never know when we're going to play it. One of the recordings that we played from our last episode, the person said, whoa, he wrote to us and he said, I sent that in a year and a half ago.
Oh, is that? Yeah, I saw that. That was interesting.
So you never know. You never know if you send something into the learning curve, when we will.
I guess it got filed away. Yeah, Baruch Hashem, it's great. Good stuff. That was an interesting episode. And another thing I've noticed is that we're starting to get letters to the editor in Mishpacha Magazine that react to things that we write about and talk about. So that's great too.
Correct. Yeah, we're kind of like we're joining.
I like it. I got a little beaten up, but that's good. It's fun. I can handle it.
Which part did you get beaten up over?
About not caring about gifted children sufficiently.
Oh, yes. Your line about gifted children, you got beaten up over. Well,
Right.
it's okay. I got beaten up over, and I don't think we're reading them now, about, a letter to the Mishpacha about using pull. a mother
yes.
and a bacher. How horrible it is to use Poland's Geneva. But yeah, but we're not reading those today.
I don't know why you got beaten up more than me, because I guess you were more explicit about it. I also said in the end of the day, use it if you think it's the right thing for your kid. But I guess it was more subtle. Yours was more like, I did it,
And
you should do it, so it upset people
I'm
more.
just going to show off for our watching audience.
Go ahead.
Do you know what this is, Rabbi Garfield? This pen?
Oh, wow. That looks like a fine pen.
It's a cross pen. It's actually it's a gel pen. It's a very expensive pen that I received from an unbelievable day in Houston. Not just the weather. I was there a couple of weeks ago. Do you have a middle name? Is your middle name start with the letter L?
It would be cool, but no.
I actually thought it did.
It's Reuven.
Because Rabbi Garfield has a organization called Yeshiva Leadership Group, in which he helps coach and helps Manalim become better Manalim.
Yep.
And 10 of us, and it was amazing. I was explaining to my wife, I was like, so where are they from? I was the only New York.
Right.
It was New York, St. Louis, Toronto, Philadelphia, Houston, Minnesota, Atlanta.
Right.
I'm missing a couple, right? Yes, I'm missing Silver Spring, Denver. I mean, wow, right?
It was a real out-of-town party.
Really, that 10 of us got together in Houston, spent a day discussing in Yanim of Chinuch. Really a great day, so thank you. This was in early February. Thank you, Rabbi Garfield, for facilitating. And I got a pen as a result. And socks. What did the socks say on them? Guess what? They're right. Guess what? This principal is off duty. Yes.
It's a gift a few years ago, and I waited till the end of the year to put them on. I was like so proud of them. So I wanted to share that with the guys.
But enough of the chit chat. Enough of the chit chat.
Enough of this chit chat.
Our audience is waiting.
Yes. Okay, here we go. Question number 1.
Yep.
Dear TLC, we always do a low-key Super Bowl thing with the cousins. No alcohol, commercials, or halftime show. My 8th grade son's Rebbi offered him $100 this year to skip it. Should I be mechazik him, and it will be Sunday night as usual, or we hold that he could watch the football on Sunday? Why is it such a big deal?
So parents listening to this like, guys, you know nothing about sports. The Super Bowl was a month ago. Why are you discussing this now? Right? So we could be like all geschmack and say, what? I thought the Super Bowl was like in the summer. I am happy with discussing it after, because therefore anything I say is not pointed at any Rebbe. We're discussing, and actually the parent that wrote in this email left the name. So, and it was sent in before the Super Bowl. So I actually shared with the parent my opinion that I'm about to share with you now. So I guess this is one of those emails that we got early. So here's my answer about this, and it's nuanced, as we know all of chinuch is. An inside joke between me and Rabbi Garfield, which is odd that we're saying an inside joke that no one else gets. We'll discuss that on a future episode. There is a nuanced chinuch and black and white chinuch. But here it goes. Age matters entirely in this conversation. So I want to separate if your child was in 11th grade, 12th grade, first year base medrash, to a child who's in 8th grade. And it matters what yeshiva is in. So I'm going to assume the following, and of course, details matter. I'm going to assume that your child is in a school where most of the kids are watching the Super Bowl. You just said you watch Super Bowl with your family every year, no alcohol, ready to say, no cut, whatever it is, no commercials, right?
Yeah.
Fine. I don't think that it's a 8th grade Rebbe's role, and I was an 8th grade Rebbe for 9 years, to incentivize a child to do something that his parents are okay with. Now, his parents are fine with him watching the Super Bowl, and this kid's a sports fan. I'm making up this theoretical child, right? So details will matter. This kid's a sports fan. He's not going to watch the Super Bowl tonight. He's going to give him $100. He's going to come tomorrow to yeshiva, get $100, and then the next day watch whatever it is, the Knicks game, go to the baseball game. And this is not a moment of chinuch for an 8th grader. An 8th grader who's a sports fan who watches the Super Bowl every year, you're almost like guilting him, and his Rebbe, who's probably amazing, and he loves his Rebbe. That's not the age and the moment to be mechanech him not to watch the Super Bowl if his family watches it, and his cousins watch it, and his friends watch it. So you're going to win what? You're going to win a feather in your cap to tell, I don't mean to be nasty, but you're going to win a feather in your cap to tell your friends, I got 4 kids in my class not to watch Super Bowl. Yeah, what do they do the next night? Oh, the next night they were actually on Netflix watching this or X, right? It's not the role of the Rebbe in 8th grade, and it's not the mukkam. I want to compare it and contrast it. The 12th grader in yeshiva, who is making tremendous strides in steiging, and is thinking, you know what, is sports that important in my life? Which an 8th grader can't think about. It's beyond his maturity level. You know what, maybe I'm going to stop following sports. I don't know. It's a battle. Yes, no, yes, no. And he says, you know what, I'm not going to watch Super Bowl this year. And his Rebbe incentivizes him not to watch Super Bowl this year. Mwah. Gorgeous. You know, I know in Rabbi Centers, Yeshiva
Right, they have a whole major thing.
Leaving out the shtick and the fanfare and the fundraising, because he's been doing this for 20 years. Do you know how amazing that is? That he's a first-year Bais Medrash guys in Eretz Yisrael, which means it's 2 o'clock in the morning. So these kids were going to hotels to watch the Super Bowl the whole night, and instead, for the first time in their life, they gave up the Super Bowl for Torah.
Right.
It's a tremendous makam of steiging, of growth. I think that is beautiful. But I think as an 8th grader, if in a Balabatish yeshiva, you know, I'm not talking yeshiva where no one watches the Super Bowl and this kid really, his parents don't want him and they call up the Rebbe. I'm talking parents are okay with him watching. The kid is watching. There's no commercial. There's nothing usher. He's not watching the halftime show. Why do you think? I would ask you the following question.
You have a lot to say about this. Go ahead.
I was an 8th. Yeah, maybe this is like.
Yeah, go ask the guy your question. Let's go, Ari. Go ahead.
Why are you doing this? Go, Rabbi Garfield. You're the 8th grade Rebbe. You gave this kid $100 not to watch Super Bowl. Why?
Okay, as long as Mishpacha doesn't pull this as my quote for the article. But with that proviso, I'm doing it because we live in a world that has forgotten what it means to be a Yid. A Yid is not involved in the culture.
Love it. I love it. When you get ultra theatrical. Yeah, that's when I know you're just trying to.
A Yid is not involved in the culture. It's become like kosher. It's not kosher. And if we're not mechanech the children young to havdil, they'll never get it. And I am their 8th grade rabbi. They're going off to yeshiva, and they need to know was is and was isn't. And the Super Bowl is narishkeit. It's not a mitzvah to watch it. I don't mind if they want to watch football once in a while. That's fine. But the Super Bowl has become like almost a mitzvah to do, like an Indian. And it's not. And I'm teaching them that. And if it's not for me, who's going to do it? Who in this child's life is ever going to have them know that this is not our derech?
Well done, by the way.
Thank you.
I take everything back.
So what do you say
to
that?
Also,
my job as a Rebbe is not Aser V'Heter. It's giving over Ashkafas HaTorah. And this is a Pashut Ashkafa HaTorah, that the Super Bowl is not where Ben Torah should be. It's not the place for Ben Torah. The place for Ben Torah is in the Bais Medrash. All the hype and all the culture and all the zachin, it's not for us. It's nishtandit. It's part of the Golas.
I'm not even pushing it harshly on your drasha, but this is knowing your.
By the way, anytime you need one of those, just press the button. I'm ready.
Yeah. This is knowing your clientele. That's why I said this is very specific. But
even that clientele,
whose parents are watching the Super Bowl. This kid he's a kid. Let the kid. We had a Gershon Miller at the event in Houston. I never thought he was talking about the Gershon Miller, very chashuva Rav and really Rosh Ha'ir in Detroit. And he said he spoke not about the Super Bowl, but he said extra night seders, right? And pushing the kids to learn and
Shavuos,
extra hours
about a Shavuos learn-a-thon.
Let children be children.
Right.
He's a child. He's an 8th grader who is doing wonderful in yeshiva, hopefully, right? And you're going to incentivize him not to watch. So what's going to happen, right? So his brother is watching, his father's watching, everyone's watching. He's going to go. He can't learn for 4 hours. He's going to learn for a half hour. Go to the gym to play basketball. Again, if you're going to tell me that $100 is going to change the kid's life, I'm in. It's not. He's an 8th grader. He's not a 12th grader. And I'm passionate about this because I find that we sometimes, as mechanchim, we overreach our lane. We overreach our lane of where we belong in a child's life. And I think that, there's a difference. Can I tell you what I did in my yeshiva? Because I spoke about the Super Bowl. How's that? So put my.
Yeah, let's hear your money where your mouth is.
I walked into the older grades during the Super Bowl, era of the Super Bowl.
You're talking about in your current place, like in the days.
I know.
Okay, yeah.
Manhattan. Yeah. And I put on a show like a little bit dramatic and shticky, like I sometimes do. And I said, guys, I want to tell you something. This past Thursday night, I stayed up the whole night learning, and the Rebbeim were like. And I'm like, and I went through, I'm like, God, Rebbi, sister, Rebbi, sister was all, I'm like, you don't know me by now? My gosh. I said, and I went through every single sif in Shulchan Aruch. I checked every shach, every taz, Mishabrua, Dirshu. I used Safari. I did the whole shtickle. And I said, I couldn't find the following phrase. Chayiv Adam Lirois Es Super Bowl. I said, I found Chayiv Adam Lirois Es Atzmei Ilu Yatzam Mitzrayim. And I think Super Seder. This is my Rebbi joke. People confused Super Seder with the Seder. Fine. I said, there's no mitzvah to watch Super Bowl. And those of you whose parents say Super Bowl's not for us, beautiful. And that's your home. And that's your value. And you shouldn't feel any pressure to watch because your friends are silly. If you don't watch Super Bowl and you don't have that in your home, great. If your parents are allowing you to watch Super Bowl tonight, that's your parents' decision. That's your family's decision. I spoke to them about the halftime show. And I said, the halftime show is a halachic shayla. And it's prust. And it's perverted. And I said, it doesn't matter if it's a male singer or not a male singer. It's prust. And I said to them, the problem is, let's say you're in a home that they're showing the halftime show. You shouldn't watch it. But what do you do?
Well, you jumped right out of your lane there, Rabbi Shonko.
Boy.
Look at you.
I said, you're going to make a macho against your parents? That's inappropriate. I'm not, I said, so go to the bathroom. Do your math homework. I spoke about if you really care. I said, if you really care, I spoke about a family member of mine that doesn't shake women's hands in meetings, right? And he doesn't want to cause discomfort or embarrass them. So he always walks into every meeting holding something, both hands. So he bows and he says hello. I said, think about it. Don't insult. You're not going to hurt. You're not going to insult people in your family. I said, I hope your family isn't watching the halftime show, but sometimes people don't know or they don't care or they think it's sticky. So that was my speech. But I think we have to stay in our lane. And I said, I think Mesivta is different. I think 11th grade is different. Beis Medrash is different. This 8th grade Balabatish kid who's going to go to the Nick game tomorrow night and who's going to watch every Met game this year, it's a feather in the Rebbe's cap and no more.
Right. I'm going to leave it there because I've done my part. I've said my piece, and you certainly have said enough on your side. I'm not, I hear. Okay, ask me the next question.
Question number 2. This is obviously for next year's Super Bowl. We have to put out.
We got to get parents ready.
Yeah. Question number 2. Here we go. A lot of this is a Purim question. Beautiful. So this is a Purim question, which is coming up. So I think it would be almost borderline inappropriate for us not to discuss if we're discussing incredibly, hopefully important in Yom HaChinuch.
Yeah.
So it's an important day. It's a complicated day. I host a Purim Suda for many years for Bachrim, and my daughter every year says, Beis Medrash, guys. Right. My son's share, and every year my daughter, who now is 7.5, says, but please not this year. No, please not this year. So here we go. Yeah. Dear TLC, a lot of what passes both, right? In the yeshiva world on Purim is totally against our family's hashkafa. Adults enabling all sorts of bad behavior. Kids acting in a way that's totally and completely unsafe. It feels like our chinuch goes completely out the window. 1, because of peer pressure, and 2, because of if the yeshiva is giving the boys a list of homes to go to and an expectation that they will collect, then it's sanctioned. And what we value has much less weight. What can we do? So this parent sounds like is focusing a little bit on the collecting part of Purim. There is a whole gamut. There's collecting and there's drinking, right? Now, so Rabbi Garfield, world is your oyster.
Easy.
You can take the direction however you go.
Why don't you ask me a serious question?
How does a parent approach Purim when yeshivas, it seems yeshivas are more flexible and into the mitzvahs hayom.
Yeah.
And a lot of parents are not and are struggling with Chil Hashem and halacha. Go.
Wow. Yeah, it's a hard one. What's coming to mind is that this is really the true test of parenting. When you have all these things stacked against you, right? You're trying to give forget Purim for a second. Let's take it out of that. And then
we speaking to an age? Are we speaking to an age?
I assume the kid's 18 to 21, I assume.
Oh, you're going there? No, not 7th. No, because 7th and 8th.
Well, they're collecting. I don't know what age I don't know. I figured it was older.
Houston kids, 7th, 8th graders don't come collecting?
I've actually spoken against it a lot. So it's certainly not institutionally done.
And you're the local 7th and 8th graders. So
yeah, it's not institutionally done. It could be someone's collecting for some organization to get.
It very much is institutionally done in Pacific.
Right.
Not schools, but it's
okay.
All
so
day.
Let's take 7th and 8th grade. I could talk to that grade too.
Let's talk both.
Okay.
Go.
So my point is, let's take a step back and say, what do you do when you have values that are important to you, but not accepted by the community you live in? Now that could express itself in many ways. You could live in Houston, Texas, and want your child to grow up a certain way, but live in a culture where kids are a little different, and that's accepted. You could live in a place that like Lakewood and want your kids to grow up. I mean, it could happen in a lot of different scenarios. In fact, I would think most often parents have values that are important to them that aren't necessarily shared by everybody. So how do you get that across in a meaningful way? And I would say the proof of the level of your success is when there's mounting pressure, and how does your child address that? Now, I'm not beating up a parent, but you can't wake up on Purim. My point is, this is not a Purim problem. This is a reflection of the greater values, relationship, situation that your child's getting. Specifically, when it comes to this, obviously, the important thing is that you express your values to your child. But a person has to also understand that a kid is a kid, and it's very hard not to be normal. Now, I would hope that normal doesn't mean doing highly dangerous and crazy things. But if your family has a policy that, you have certain areas of sensitivity that this is violating, you have to understand that your kid has a right and a natural need and desire to be normal. So you have to respect that in the conversation. So to tell a kid, you can't go anywhere, you sit in your room, like, come on, that's unrealistic. So you have to work with your child in an open way and have real conversations about how we're going to handle this. Maybe they could go, how do you behave in a house? What's comfortable for you and what's not? But I would say that if your kid totally violates your values and like knows you don't like drinking and they get crazy drunk, or you don't like wildness in there, that tells you something about the whole year. That's not really speaking, in my opinion, only to Purim. I see you disagree. Well, the people watching could see you disagree. The people listening,
I didn't say one word.
right. But that's okay. I like disagreement. Go ahead, Rabbi Schoenfeld. And what do you disagree about?
I think that you're being too Pollyanna in what the day is. In other words, Purim is a day that has been, and I host a Purim suit every year, and I'm not. We can discuss what we do personally, but I don't want to go there yet. Purim is a day that is dominated by Yeshiva Bachram. What I mean is, it's the day they look forward to the whole year. It's on their calendar.
7th and 8th graders? No.
Ending on the system, and the more Yeshivish circles, yes.
Really?
In Passaic,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
But I want to discuss the 18-year-old first, because I think it's, right? To the 18-year-old, Purim is the most exciting day of the year. I think as a parent who's a straight-laced parent, or in their mind, the normal parent, I don't want my son to drink, and it's a Chal Hashem, and he can't, right? It's going to be the worst day of your year. I think there's certain times you have to tell the parent, I'm letting you know, and I talk to parents about this. I'm not sanctioning getting drunk on Purim on any age. It's up to your boy and the yeshiva. But that parent that says to me, Rabbi Shlomo, my son's friends are getting drunk, he's in a Besipta, his Rebbe's hosting him at 18 to 20. Again, age matters. 9th grade. Let's discuss the Bis Medrash boy. First year Bis Medrash, second Bis Medrash. Mrs. Smith, your son's going to get drunk. Repeat after me. He's going to drink on Purim. I'm not, again, I want to repeat, I'm not sanctioning, but that reality.
Drinking and drinking. There's levels of drinking.
And it's going to be the hardest day of the year for you. And it's going to be miserable. Period. End of sentence.
Yeah, I'm not willing to.
Now, 1 second. I'm not done. No, I'm not saying therefore just throw in the towel.
Okay.
I'm not saying to speak to your son about. I know parents that put air tags on their kids on Purim.
That's a good idea.
Good idea, right? I'm not saying to talk to your son
about
crazy,
but a good idea.
Yeah, but it's crazy until it's 2 a.m.
Right.
and you don't know where your son is. You find out he's sleeping on your Rebbe's couch. Never happened with me. Really don't. We don't put air tags on our kids. But you're talking to a father whose son last year. Can I say this? Yeah, wasn't drinking. No, dressed up as a chicken in 10th grade. Great chicken outfit onesie. And then rented a chicken and walked around with it on a leash on Purim. And then gave it back. Oh, he fed it. No tzar bar l'chaim, gewaldig. Anyways, he was my son last year. This year he wants to do a rabbit. We're trying to avoid that. Anyways, but I think A, it's going to be a horrible day for you. B, there are conversations. I talk to my own children. I have a son in 30 Bis Medrash, a son in 2nd Bis Medrash, and a son in 11th grade. I am in the throes of Purim. That, right? Tinius Esther, talk to him responsibly. Don't say, oh, what you're doing, I'm against, but if you do, your empty stomach, make sure to eat. Please don't drink schnapps. Schnapps is very dangerous. And if you're going to drink schnapps, have a bottle of 2 or 3 or 4 shots and then keep it there. And especially the first night of Purim. Second, have real conversations with them in the B'diavad. I know this is like a podcast that we're discussing drinking and it's like a dangerous conversation, but have real conversations in the B'diavad with your children to try to make them have a day that isn't as horrible for you. That's in the Beis Medrash realm. In the elementary school realm, let's discuss, hopefully they're not drinking in 7th and 8th grade. That's dangerous. That's horrible. That's parents that give kids to drink in elementary school and in young high school ages.
But everyone's doing it. It's past.
7th and 8th grade?
In Passaic. I've heard in Passaic, it's really something.
Chas
I don't know.
v'shalom.
I'm sure.
If 70th graders that are drinking, yeah, those kids should be sent home, and that's horrible parenting. There's the collecting part where the kids, they go around and they get into limousines, right? And they rent, right? And there's a lot of that in most yeshiva towns. There's a lot of that. And that's where I go back to what you said, and that is, I think it's unfair of a parent, as you said, his whole class is collecting, or most of his class is collecting, and to tell him, no, you can't get into a limousine on Purim. But you could tell him, if I see you with a cigarette, I'm going to come and pick you up and take you home in front of all your friends. I don't care. If I hear that you had a cigarette, if I hear that you touched alcohol, you're going to stay in our house the rest of Purim and not leave the house. That's, you're supposed to parent within the understanding that Purim is not a good day for parents.
I don't accept what you're saying, but we could disagree. I don't accept it. I think that every day is a good day for parents, and every day is an opportunity for parents to parent. And if you
I didn't say it's not. I didn't say that. It's not a good day for parents, meaning it's a really hard day. It's a b'diavad in the world of what kids are doing. It's a b'diavad.
I don't agree. I think parents have to parent their kids through hard times. When your kid fails a test, when the kid loses the championship game, it's a hard time to parent. When your kid breaks his leg.
1 second. This parent doesn't want their kid getting in that limo to go collecting for this amazing.
But they live in a reality. I don't want my kid breaking his leg, but he broke it. And now what? He can't go on the trip. So I have to be a parent. It's difficult, but I have to be a parent.
You're not letting him in the limo?
I didn't say that. I'm just saying difficulty is part of parenting life. And you have to understand the situation and engage your children and I don't give anyone a pass as a parent to say, it's hard, just let it happen. No, you got to talk about it. Like you were saying, you could talk about the parameters of it and find the pshara and explain to your kid what about the limousine bothers you. And then you got to work it. You got to work the problem together.
I'm not giving anyone a pass. What I'm doing is I'm really highlighting, I guess is the right word. I am highlighting it is a hard, super challenging day. Don't think you can just, this is our family. I want to move the goalposts. That's what I'm saying. Purim is one of those days where I think you have to move the goalpost as parents. I think parents don't appreciate the excitement that builds a lot of the larger, more exciting yeshivas for Purim, in the shtick of Purim, Rosh Chodesh Adar and the Purim play. At home, the mothers are busy with Shalach Havanos. The fathers don't even know it's Purim. They're at work. These kids are busy with their costumes and Rosh Chodesh Adar in yeshiva. I was 1 year, and I'm going to T4 this, Rebbi, lucky enough not to have a Purim shtick in yeshiva. A Purim shtick gets me nervous. I find it to be just hefkerus for no reason, and it just causes the custodians, almost like a chil Hashem, that afterwards they clean up the mess. So every year I try to stop it in my yeshiva. So 1 year I said, here's the deal. Take the best ball player in the 8th grade. He's going to have me a one-on-one. If he beats me, we have Purim shtick. There was no Purim shtick that year.
That's great. We actually have the kids do it through Rebbeim so that it's under control. Meaning you could do Purim shtick, but the Rebbe is,
do it also.
with it. And that way it keeps it reasonable.
But I'm saying, I think parents have to appreciate, don't be the killjoy. Right. It is the most exciting day of the year, and it is built up for weeks in Beis Medrash, in Mesivta. The costumes, which we find so, oh my gosh, are nothing. Which onesies. Which ones are you going to wear, or which punk you're going to dress up like. It's a real exciting day for them. Lean into that, appreciate it, and move the goalposts enough that you can grin and bear it and be soivel a day, and let your kid still have his day within the edge of your comfort zone.
Yeah, I would say one more thing, and I reacted in my mind when you said, if I see a cigarette, I'm going to, I think you have to let your kids make mistakes too. Purim is certainly a day of mistakes.
Ouch. So you're going to let your kid in 8th grade get drunk on Purim
because
let him make a mistake?
But if they do, understand that people make mistakes.
Yeah, I'm not talking about, we're not talking about what to do for your son Chas Shalom in 8th grade drinks.
Whatever the decision is, I'm sure, I don't want to speak for you, but I've certainly regretted certain things that have happened over Purim, over my life. Right. Errors of judgment, nothing, life-threatening or anything, but but that's okay too. Parents, especially if it's your oldest kid and they make some bad decisions, it's okay. Right. That's part of the experience.
You're already prepping for the post-Purim podcast.
Just saying, it's not the worst. I agree.
To you. I let my kid go, and
all right, wonderful.
So now we move on to our spotlight question, the week, and this week is, usually we say it's a kavod and honor. This week, I think we call it a schus, and that is we have joining us the mechanech of mechanchim, Rabbi Yoel Kramer, who has spent decades in chinuch as a girls' principal, a seminary, opening seminaries, and for the last more years than I am on this earth, and running a very, very special program called the Merkaz, which trains the Rebbeim. And most of Rebbeim in America today are either went through that program or have learned from that program. So we're very excited soon to welcome Rabbi Kramer. But at first, Rabbi Garfield, we're going to read the question, and here it goes. Dear TLC, next year in my son's yeshiva, there are 2 parallel classes, one taught by a veteran Rebbi and one very new Rebbi. The veteran Rebbi is known for his classroom management and is well regarded. The younger Rebbi may be missing experience, but he's very enthusiastic and energetic. My son will be in 5th grade and beginning Gemara, so it's a big year. Is there one type that's objectively a better educator? So in discussing types of Rebbeim, we could get into the weeds of this parent, but I think this is a time to go take a step back. And as opposed to addressing a specific parent, let's make Rebbeim great, not again, but, let's once again make Rebbeim great. So really, it is a kavod and a schus for us to welcome to the learning curve Rabbi Yoel Kramer. First of all, Rabbi Kramer, we had some technical issues tonight, so we thank you for bearing with us, and welcome to the learning curve.
My pleasure.
Rabbi Kramer, we go back in a way that you don't know, so I'm going to tell you. A number of years, I'm going to say about 24 years ago, it was my first Torah Masorah convention. And I came to the Torah Masorah convention as a second-year teacher. My training was in counseling. I have a degree in counseling, but I didn't have any formal educational experience and training. And I fell in love with it. I haven't missed one since. So I've been going for a few years to the Torah Masorah convention because the idea of getting trained and reflective practice and best practices just blew me away. Sunday morning, it was time to go. This is in the Friar Tuck, Zichar, whatever the right Lashon is. And I'm like, I can't stop. I was living in Atlanta at the time. I was a 9th grade Rebbi, second year teaching. I was like, I can't stop. This is amazing. And then I saw your tallis bag. It said, Yoel Kramer. You left it against Rabbi Ryback, or no, probably Shalom Streicher's cry. I don't remember it back then. Probably Shalom Streicher. You left your tallis bag in the dining room. And I said to myself, I know Rabbi Kramer is like, big name around here. I didn't know you, but I know you're a big name. I'm going to leave you a note in your tallis bag.
Is it a true story?
This is 100% true story. I'm going to leave you a note and ask you to call me so we could discuss how I could keep steiging as a Rebbe.
So you were nuts.
I've always been me. I've been me since I was a little kid. So I wrote the note, listen, and then I forgot about it because I went home and life went on. 3 weeks later, I got a call from Rabbi Kramer. I'm like, what? Who? And you said, I found the note. He was kind enough to call me. And we had the conversation, and you gave me a piece of advice that I still use to this day.
Before you say the advice, Rabbi Garfield, Rabbi Kramer, do you have any recollection of this story?
Let me hear the advice.
Yeah. How would you remember this? This is a long time ago, literally, I think 25 or so years ago.
What was the advice?
The advice was, I said, I live in a place where there's not a lot of professional development opportunity. It's like, I have a manal, but he wasn't so into giving me feedback, to put it mildly. And he said, invite friends and colleagues and visitors into your classroom and let them talk to you about what you're doing. And that way you get feedback from your colleagues, from people visiting, and you could grow that way. And I've been doing that not only as a Rebbe, I did it for years as a Rebbe. Whenever a mechanech was visiting or a friend, I said, come in. They taught me so much that I never, would have thought out. I still know the lessons a lot of them taught me. And now listen to this. As a manal, I do the craziest thing. Once a year, I bring in some guy I respect or a woman, and I pay them money. I say, just come for the day, and whatever you see, tell me. Isn't that great? I still do it. It's the best advice ever.
Yeah,
so,
great.
Thank you.
Great.
It's been years. I still do it. I managed to do it. Rabbi Simcha Dessler is coming, Mirza Hashem, this year. I pick someone who I respect. We had
that's why
you've
never chosen me, but okay,
Rachel Zimmerman, Rabbi Idstein. I different over the years, literally different people. Chami Levitansky.
Beautiful.
And say, just tell me what you see. Just spend the day, just look around, and they give me great advice. So thank you, Rabbi Kramer, for that.
Okay. So Rabbi Kramer, can you first give our listening audience and our watching audience a little bit of, I guess, a background on what is the Merkaz, what it is that this is? You've been doing this for 46 years. Kanai Nahara, Halavai Vaiter for many years.
Yeah, amen.
What is it? What's the Merkaz?
The Merkaz is a year training session, 30 sessions, meeting once a week. Happens to be Wednesday nights right now. I'm free because I'm very proud. A son who's following in my footsteps is giving tonight's session.
Beautiful.
So it meets once a week for an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours, no break. And it draws for anyone in the greater New York area. We find a central spot. Right now we meet in Staten Island. And I could say almost nobody's ever dropped out. And it's a strain for them because most people travel at least an hour one way.
Whose brainchild was it?
Mine.
What were you doing at the time when you started the Merkaz?
I was a principal of a girls' high school. It evolved. Let me tell you how it evolved. I was a big fan of staff development. So we would have monthly meetings that the staff loved to come to. Now, that's very odd, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
First of all, I scheduled it midday, so it was on school time, not on their time. I covered the classes in very creative ways. That's a separate discussion. And I didn't do more than 10 minutes talking. And the rest of it was staff development. Each time there was an issue. So once they were having discipline problems with one of the classes. So I said to them, you know what? Let's go upstairs to a classroom. I'll be the teacher, and you be the students, and you do whatever happens. And let's do it that way.
The role play.
It was such a knacky success that they said, could we have more of this? So I took another topic and another topic. And over the years, 30 topics, and that's basically the present Merkaz course.
Wow.
Of course, I've refined it and developed it and masculated it, if there's such a word, for the Rebbeim, but that's how it evolved.
Beautiful.
So let me ask, I guess, a real, big picture. What makes a great Rebbe?
What makes a great Rebbe? I think there are, first of all, there are a lot of greats. Let's make that clear. I just went through a medical issue, so I had to check out doctors. And everyone said, this is the best, the greatest doctor. And a very wise friend said to me, there are a lot of greats. There's not one great doctor. There are a lot of greats. There are a lot of ways that somebody can be a great Rebbe, and they don't all necessarily fit the mold. And that's something that I learned through the years, that everybody can't be my mold. I encourage the people that I train, stop cloning Kramer. Because if you're not Kramer, you can't clone him exactly. But there are certain yesodis. I think the four most important yesodis are loving kids and people, liking kids. Secondly, I think a passion to help and give and influence lives. Third, a healthy person, emotionally healthy person, not egocentric. There are Rebbeim who come in there and they're performing, but they're looking at themselves, not at the kids. And finally, growing people. I'm a massive fan, as Rabbi Garfield will attest, that you have to keep growing. You can't, otherwise, the finest people stagnate. I think one of the reasons I learned it is because my shortest amount of time in any position was 35 years, which means, by the way, I consider that part of the success. If you, like in a marriage, if you stay with it, you work out the kinks, and you become better and better. But the challenge is to not stagnate. Those staff meetings were very draining because I had to keep coming up with exciting, interesting ideas.
Do you think, is it unfair to say the following stereotype, that Rebbeim as an entity don't love staff development?
Right, and for good reason.
Why?
Because they're boring. They're boring. The principal pontificates. He talks and talks. He reads through all. Let me tell you a fascinating staff meeting, probably the one I was most excited about. There's parent-teacher conference, right? So I would come in and read for a half hour all the things to remember and everybody heard it last year and the year before that. One year I said to me, let's be creative. I sat down and wrote down 5 classic parent-teacher conference scenarios. One was the parent who talks too much, the teacher who talks too much, the parents who get into a fight in front of you, etc. I chose the 10 most talented people on the staff. I assigned each pair, parent and teacher. They came in and acted out. I primed them.
Wow.
They primed each one for about 5 minutes, and then the staff reacted in them. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Isn't that great? Isn't that great? So when you go through a staff meeting like that, you're not bored and you want more. They didn't leave me alone. They kept saying, "Give us more," and that's.
Have you seen, since you've been in your positions for so long, you must have seen Rebbeim or Moras age to a point where it's just hard for them to pull it. They just don't have it. They just don't have it in them. And like, how do you manage that, or how do you, try to inspire them when they're just sort of spent?
By doing creative things like this. Once they're every month, I probably did about 7 staff meetings a year. You don't do it in Elul and Tishrei. You don't do it in Sivan. If they're stimulated, when I left the position, they gave me a tribute, and most of the letters that they wrote said, "You excited me and helped me grow as a teacher." That was the biggest compliment.
Rabbi Kramer, you've been doing
I often, when I train principals, I make a big S, and I say the principal's job. There are 2 parts of principal's job. One is the idea is striving, pushing them to be more, and the other is stroking, and you need that balance. The principal who pushes and stresses and strives can often be a monster.
Right.
It has to be balanced with stroking. And the stroker is a teddy bear. So they like him after a while, but they say, "Oh, come on now, do something."
Rabbi Kramer, you've been running the Merkaz for 46 years. Are your lessons the same? I don't mean to say in terms of stagnation. I don't mean like that. What I mean is, do you find
Have the needs changed?
Right. That the needs of today's dart, I mean,
massive.
You give 3 examples of what's changed.
3 examples of what's changed.
And how did you notice they changed? Like, you're doing this every year. It's so hard.
Okay, so that's also, you have to remain fresh. I mean, if I told you my age, and yet
all I know is that you're 46 because you've been doing this for 46 years.
Exactly.
That's all I know.
Yeah. That you have to be in touch. I speak to the Rebbeim that I train. I get feedback. I visit schools. So I'm as reasonably caught up as possible.
So tell me a difference. What has changed overall, big picture, in 1980 to 2026, other than no hitting?
Right. Kids are more distractible.
So are Rebbeim.
Right. There's a massive amount of entitlement.
Really?
For entitlement. Yeah. Parents are much more in the picture. I feel very often.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a negative.
Really?
It's overdone. Like that sample question that we started out with.
Like when I sent you this question today, and you're like, "I don't like that question." Come on,
come on, leave it. Just let the kid go through, and most of the time it goes well.
So that's the answer to the question.
Who knows which is better?
So that's a perfect example to you of a parent over-analyzing and overthinking.
Right. And there is no one answer because it's a balance. What's the kid? Who will the kid? And what's the social life of the child? Forget about the education. You want to take him, move him every year back and forth to which teacher he fits in, and where are his friends, and where's the social life.
So how is the training adapted to these changes? Like, what could you do to prepare Rebbeim today so that they could deal with distracted, entitled? What was the third one? I forgot.
Distracted, entitled, and overbearing parents.
Yeah.
I talk about it. About it.
Right. Probably in 1980, you didn't have to give relationships with parents was basically report cards.
Right. I don't think I even spoke about it.
Mm-hmm.
You understand that my education was in the 40s, in the 1940s, okay? So it was a total, I'm really basically seeing 4 different eras.
Who are your role models? Who did you
learn by?
Who did you learn by? in chinuch?
Mostly Rav Hutner. Mostly Rav Hutner. So I took a lot from him and rejected certain aspects. My major mantra is you're not teaching subjects, you're teaching children. You cannot go through a week without meeting privately with students. I say, just like you have a plan book of what you're going to do each day, you must have a plan of which student you're going to see. Let's say Tofasta, Mulubala Tofasta. So you see 3 children a week for a 10, getting to know you 15-minute, and go through the whole class the first X weeks, and then do a second cycle and a third cycle. And I do it in my teacher training program. There's no such thing as coming to my program without coming to my house and sitting with me for an hour. And on the way out, I say to them, how do you feel? They say, yeah, I really feel cared about. I said, that's the way the kid feels. So if you develop that kind of yachas, then you've got it.
I'm going to put on a parent hat now, and I'm going to push back. Parents are listening to this episode, and they're going to say, we're listening to this podcast because we're involved parents and we're caring parents. How could Rabbi Kramer say that we're overbearing? Isn't that the goal of a parent, is to be involved and not just hand off my kid to the school and to just pick him up or her up?
Right.
What do you mean? I care about everything about my child. I'm the best parent.
Yeah, but how many times did you call the school and the parent a week? Okay, that's okay. Hands off, be involved. If you really want to be involved, okay, here, let's move. We talked about teacher training and growth. There is no profession in America where you can stay in that profession without doing in-service development. You lose your license, your law license, your doctor's license, unless you go back, and that has to be instituted in chinuch in America.
And it's not great. It's not great.
I'll tell you what. When I first came on, I was a principal at 27, a bit too young. There was a Rebbi there in the school who was a man of 60.
Which yeshiva?
This was Prospect Park, and the whole evolution there. He was a man of 60, and I remember suggesting something to him, and he said to me, "You're telling me, I'm 40 years older than you." I wanted to, but I didn't say it to him. He said, "I've been teaching 40 years." I said, "No, you've been teaching 1 year 40 times."
Wow.
That's the point. So a Rebbe cannot live with himself if he comes in and stays without doing anything to develop himself. Now I turn to the Balabatisha world and I say, what brings the lawyer and the doctor to those in-service courses? Relicensing and a higher salary. Why don't you set up a fund, and every Rebbe who goes for some kind of in-service gets a bonus, and his school gives him an extra bonus, which is incremental as he develops. That's the answer. So parent, instead of making all the phone calls, put
Rabbi Kramer, when you started working on this, was there any pushback? Like, we do what our Rebbes did. We have Messiah. What is this training? They didn't do training back in Europe. This Narishkeit, this Modernische. Did you have any pushback like that? And did you speak to any Gedolei Yisrael from that dar, from the 80s, who spoke to this as a tzara?
Okay, so it's a great question. I didn't, but I knew I was right. But I still remember a Torah convention. Where the Novominsker Zatzal was sitting up there on the Thursday night, and someone asked the question, should the Sefer of Aleph Beis follow the Mesorah of black and white, or should it have colors, the Mesorah? And the Novominsker said, Mesorah! He said, do what works.
Right.
Straight from the Novominsker. He was delicious.
Rabbi Kramer, one of your isms, there's certain, I took the Merkaz, like every Rebbe, I think, I took the Merkaz, and Rabbi Kramer has been incredibly helpful in finding amazing Rebbeim in my yeshiva for me, in Yeshiva Manhattan. There's an ism, if I asked the Rebbeim in America today, tell me the number one thing, Rabbi Kramer taught you about walking in the first day. You know what's
I know what it is. The Stoltz.
The Stoltz. the stoltz, the presents. Don't
Presents.
smile till Hanukkah, right? Don't
Poor
smile
Rabbi
till Hanukkah.
Kramer.
So don't smile till Hanukkah. That's like the quote of Rabbi Kramer.
Poor
Don't
Rabbi
smile-
Kramer is known for
it's
this
not.
thing.
No, it's not. On
Right.
the contrary. On the contrary, I tell smile the first day. If you have presents, you can smile the first day. And if you don't, then there's no problem at Hanukkah because you won't have the job.
Rabbi Kramer, do you screen, like, do you ever tell someone who tries to apply, like, I'm sorry, but I don't see a future for you? Or do you feel like you could train most people?
Or just to add, even more painful, what happens if someone joins your merkaz and it's a whole year and it's an investment and it's money, and at the end of the year, beincho ubein HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this guy ain't cut out for the job. What happens?
Okay, so that has only happened probably 3 or 4 times in the thousands. Really, there are thousands. I have a list right now of over 2,000 alumni, and there are many that I don't have. It's barely happened. Why? You noticed before when you asked me what are the axioms of a good Rebbe that I didn't say presence. Now, it is a very important thing that there is that first impression that is crucial. But what if the guy is a meek, sweet booby? What are we going to do? You know what? There's place for him too. In primary, out of town, in this nice, sweet. Now, you notice I made 2 variables there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where and with whom?
Right.
Well, you take. So my job when I meet with them one-on-one is to guide them. I took a guy who wanted to be an 8th grade Rebbe and would never have made it. And he's now one of the leading first grade Rebbeim in Lakewood.
How does that conversation go? That's a hard conversation when someone says, I want to be a Rebbe teaching Taisvis, and you tell him, Bubala, right?
The mistake you made is to use the word conversation, because it's conversations. I develop a relationship, and when he sees me as a father, really caring about him, then he says, I did it this morning on the phone. I'm working on a guy who's a schlepper, and we had a long talk, and he says, I'm hearing you, and let me digest it. I'll call you back, and we work on it.
I have found a common thing that Rebbeim say, guys in Kollel say, they only want to teach 8th grade, like, or 7th, and how do you respond to that? Because I feel like you don't know nothing, but like you can't convince him.
Well, part of that
is a great question, like Garfield. I just say, did you ever take economics in high school? There's a law of supply and demand. So this is the supply. What do you think the demand will be? But it's a major problem. And I know of probably 20, 25 alumni that are still sitting around in Lakewood waiting for the worst danger, by the way, is the Sholem Eshiv. That's
It gives you a false sense of a job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So Rabbi Kramer, what is your advice to a parent that says, you know what, I'm listening to Rabbi Kramer talk, and he's talking about a Rebbe that has, loves the kids and yada, yada, yada. And my son's Rebbe is just and he's not connecting. He's okay. He's one of those, it doesn't matter the age. He didn't take the Merkaz. So, he doesn't know how to walk in the wrong way and put on the Broadway show, the whole, and my son is it's February. His Rebbe is boring. His lessons are haphazard. Now, why isn't he fired? Because he's 1,000 reasons. Maybe he's out of town, or so it's hard to find something to replace him.
Oh, easy there, Schoenfeld. Easy.
Maybe he's related, or maybe he's just, you don't fire Rebbeim because he's just, what do I do? As a parent, I don't want my son to miss 5th grade, 8th grade, 3rd grade.
Back to my suggestion before, if the parent has the money, say, I'm ready to sponsor that Rebbe's in-service training. It's a circuitous way of approaching.
That's not insulting? That's not insulting?
It's reality.
Wow.
Maybe a mentor or like a coach is a better way than like going
to
one class.
So here it's really the principal's job.
Yeah.
The principal's job to, as I did, to train and develop them, or here and there to filter. Do
you see a difference? I'm curious. Let's leave out of town as one. The difference between different communities within the tri-state. There are guys that you'll say, you won't work in Lake, you won't work in Muncie, you won't work.
Come to the
Brooklyn.
March 11th session, which is, there are 3 foci to the course, by the way. Let me just, the first 6 sessions is the Rebbe's projection. Not just the presence, but also the room. The room is a factor. I have a fascinating story about I will try to make it quick. A principal, an out-of-town principal, said, I have a wonderful 8th grade Rebbe, first year, but it's not going. Come down and just tell me that I'm right in sending him away. I come down to the city and I say, where's the classroom? Well, it's not in the classroom, it's in the trailers in the back. Got it?
Yeah.
So I go to the trailer. I can't tell you what the trailer was like. And it also joined another trailer in which an exciting Rebbe was teaching in the other room. The guy had no chance whatsoever of ever getting it. I came back. I said, why do you do that to him? Take the best Rebbe and put him in the trailer, the most experienced, and give him a classroom that it's a gather of Tevin Einem Noisem Lanu, Ulovenim Lanu Asay.
Right.
Okay, and that was it. I never checked to find out what happened. Fast forward 20 years, I go to a l'chaim of a close friend. I walk in, and they introduce me to the mechutin, and the mechutin says, I know you. I said, really? He said, you once came to observe me in that city. I said, oh, yes. He said, what are you doing? He said, I'm principal of the school.
Ha!
What do you say to that?
Wow.
They took him out. They gave him a decent classroom. He's now the manayil of a very well-known mosid.
Wow.
That's the first foci. The second, we have 8 sessions on a lesson, knowing what a lesson, that there's an objective to a lesson. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I didn't mention before, the change nowadays, active participation. I have a session next week that's like 60 ideas of active participation. Think, pair, share, that keeps kids moving and deals with the new door. The last 10 sessions, which is my favorite, is the child development. Such the first session of that, getting back to your question, is listing different communities and telling them, what do you think if you were teaching in here? Different countries, different communities, and within a city, within a Lakewood, different schools and how they would differ. And the challenge is striking. I begged them to go out of town, but I'm not especially successful.
Why do you beg them to go out of town?
Oh, you have an hour? Because life. My own children, I push them to have a daughter who's a principal in Cleveland. It's a different life. And the discipline is different. The kids are more able. Classes are not as crowded. There's a lot of factors.
I have one more question, and then I'll let Rabbi Garfield, ask his last question to summit. My question is, what would be your sales pitch? Obviously, Rabbi Kramer, your whole life is chinuch, is training Rebbeim, is a love for Rebbeim and for chinuch. I'm 28 years old. I lived in Koil for 5 years. Should I go into chinuch? And I say, here's Rabbi Kramer. I meet him at a chasana. He's related from both sides. And I say, Rabbi Kramer,
the last 10 sessions, I undress. And I show them. There are times I've changed also the past years. I start crying.
Why?
I tell them about the negatives of my own chinuch. I had a challenge as a child, and no one was there. That's, by the way, what's motivating me and continues this passion. Because I say, Rabbi Shalom, you gave me that pekel because you want me now to influence other people. And I show them the beauty of it, the excitement of it. They often say to me, we can't get over your passion at your age. And that comes, and that's addictive. It's infective and it's addictive.
My brothers are both lawyers, and they're both successful lawyers, and they're wonderful people. And I have sisters, some in chinuch and some not in chinuch. I can't imagine waking up to another profession.
Exactly. And my biggest simcha is that every one of my children is in chinuch and masters.
Wow.
And that's the ultimate.
Wonderful.
And then you look back, and just this afternoon, a graduate of my school, class of 1969.
Oh my.
How old would she be?
57 years ago.
Okay, lives in Eretz Yisrael and was at the door this afternoon. They're here, came with her husband to listen to the knockers of the children. And it's
Unbelievable. Last question is looking to the future. You know, we're talking about AI, you were talking about all the distractions, and you know, how do you feel when you look at the chinuch landscape? Do you feel optimistic or do you feel concerned?
optimistic. No, I'm generally an optimistic person. No. There's more training. There's more professionalism. Hopefully, we didn't talk about the salaries have to improve.
Amen.
Rebbeim and moros have to earn more than the cleaning lady in the house, and
Right.
often she doesn't. And that's where it's at. That's where it's at. But once you have that and you infect them, and exciting principles, the principle has a lot to do with it. If he's alive and it's helping them grow, there's a beautiful secular. Once a quote: "The word principle used to be an adjective, the principal teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it became a noun.
Wow.
So if the principal is an adjective, principal
line.
teacher, then
Good will come. Well, thank you. This is really special. And for all the people who weren't familiar with you, I'm sure they're so happy to get to hear you and learn.
There are around 6 people in America.
thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right,
Keep it
thank you
coming.
so much.
And
All the best.
people, so many of the mothers and fathers that are going to listen to this are going to be like, "Oh my God, Rabbi Kramer!" They're going to,
Right. All right. Thank you so much. Much
Thank you.
gesund.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye. Wow, wasn't that really special? He's so vibrant and enthusiastic. You know, it's wonderful, wonderful.
They say he's one of one. That's kind of what Rabbi Yoel Kramer is one of one. He's, most Rebbeim today, including myself, I've, been through the Merkaz.
Right.
It's not just the Merkaz. My wife knows him from back, in Prospect Park Elementary School and from the camps and from seminaries. I mean, I think he started Benos Chava. He was involved in everything.
Right. I think my wife
Really, and you see why when you hear his voice.
Right.
It's like
He's so enthusiastic and
the word he
passionate.
used, addictive, infectious.
Mhm.
But his presence, and his leadership has been really at the forefront. It was a schus for us to listen to someone like that.
Absolutely. And the truth is, what he said about the 4 characteristics of a Rebbe really resonated with me.
Yes, yeah.
And
he answered the question. He said, "Stop asking questions about your band. You'll be fine." He answered the email as well.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. As you heard in the beginning, we love the comments, questions, criticisms, thoughts from our listeners. So please, you can send an email to thelearningcurve@mishpacha.com. That's one word, thelearningcurve@mishpacha.com.
Is there a phone number?
There is a phone number, and it is 443-686-9339. Again, 443-686-9339. So we hope to see everybody, hear from you. Rai Schoenfeld, have a wonderful Purim. Nachas Tikurim.
Take care.